Hello and welcome to the 6 o'clock club. I am Andy from Twisted Narrative, and we have
Kristian, who is tonight from your house.
yes. Um, uh, Welcome everybody. I'm not feeling my best tonight, so I'm probably not going to be doing a huge amount of nattering on. The COVID has got me, and I am drugged up with proper medications, of course. But I didn't want to let everybody down. I kind of want to try and do this regular 6 o'clock club format. So here we are, and obviously I have Kristian here that will be doing the heavy lifting tonight.
Indeed. No pressure on me then.
Not at all, not at all. I shall be looking at the metrics, the analytics of this video, and yeah, you're yeah. I'm going to
I
be
could be
watching.
off. This could be it. So
This could be the last one, so enjoy.
be
First,
kind.
first and foremost, I would like to say a big thank you to people that are in chat, and if you're watching on catch up, a big hello and welcome to you. It is Tuesday night, and traditionally we talk about the game that was yesterday and the game that we're playing today. Um, Interestingly, yesterday was Monday, and traditionally I don't run a game there, so there's nothing to talk about there. And tonight, because I feel terrible, there's no game tonight. So thank you
Ooh,
for tuning in and
ooh.
everything. I will catch you tomorrow. No, we've got some other things to talk about. We
Yes.
have some other things to talk about. Hopefully, things that you will all find interesting.
But we have a slight correction, I think, to start with,
Hmm. Oh
because
yes,
it's been
yes.
pointed out to us that in the Shan game, it was focused that maybe it was my game, but there are many players in the Shan game.
I'm
We
sure
have
I'm
we
I'm sure I mentioned the names, but I could be
No, I
wrong.
don't think you did.
I literally have
I'm
them
not.
written down here.
I'm not going back to watch either. I trust our source of truth.
Yeah.
So in that game we have Jen, Tony, Jocelyn, Rachel, and myself, and when she can make it, Becca.
Yeah.
So yes, that's our show game, and it's a rich, full party of very different characters and very different player personalities as well. And it's a wonderful game.
Yeah. No, great group of players. Apologies. I like to give name checks out because it's cool to hear your name out aloud and that you're part of the community and everything else. So certainly wasn't my intention to miss it out. I probably got overly excited with the
Yes.
discussions of that and my crazy idea. I mean, one of the positives last time I had COVID was I came out with some really bizarre ideas. So who knows how inspired I'm going to be over the next few days.
I
Yes.
just coughed for 3 weeks. So I mean,
Oh no, I last time I had it, and this is a bit of COVID chat now. Last time I had it was when we had the heat wave in the UK,
right.
and I didn't know whether I was just super hot because it was 40 degrees or super hot because I was feverish. Kind of both, really. It was all a bit of a fevered dream. And
I had it over Christmas, so I couldn't taste as much when it came to Christmas dinner, which was nice.
it was bizarre. I didn't lose my taste or anything. It was, I just felt terrible. And it feels now like it felt when I first started it. So I've got a feeling that the next few days are going to be interesting. That said, um, it's supposed to be a different variant now. Like Heather, my partner, um, she had it this morning. She was the one that's basically kind of identified that it was going on. And what she has is like a really bad sore throat, and I haven't got any of that. So I don't know. Knowing me, it's probably man flu, and I'm just kind of
Probably just
being
gas.
sympathetic. Sympathetic.
Yes. Well,
Um,
COVID chat aside, we have a tweet
mm,
that I thought would be good to
you
discuss
noticed.
tonight.
Now I can call this up because I've been trying to do technology. Look at that. Oh, made it appear like magic on the screen. Can you see that on the as it's shown up?
I will tell you in about 4 seconds when I see the stream.
Well, I can see it. I'm fairly certain it has.
Wonderful. If you can see it, then it probably has happened. So yeah, Paizo, the people behind Pathfinder, have posted a tweet saying Pathfinder has a reputation for being rules heavy or crunchy. That can sound intimidating. In what ways do you think the rules support your role playing and encounter experiences? We'd love to hear about this in your own words. I just thought it was a very interesting. Now, I'm not going to read out any people's responses to this because I haven't checked that. I haven't checked with anyone that's written things. And I think it would be rude to just start quoting tweets from.
Yeah. No, I think
except for Paizo, they're a company. They've got companies are different.
Yeah. No. I think it's interesting in a number of ways. When you messaged me this morning about it, and I took this screenshot. Because you break it down, and there's no shenanigans going on here. I think they are, they genuinely. It's an interesting question because obviously, with the OGL debacle of Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder is probably the second biggest fantasy role-play game out there. And certainly a large number of players have jumped ship, are testing it out at the moment, and for positive results, really. I've played Pathfinder an awful lot, and I'm a big fan.
I haven't played it. Not second edition. I've not gone into the rules of second edition, other than looking at the action economy during combat.
Yeah.
So, but I think it was, for me, it was more the approach of actually going to players and saying, "Hey, we hear it's rules heavy. What ways do you think they support them?" You basically you're going to the community and asking for feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've done it on Twitter, which is always a danger.
Yeah.
Because Twitter's a lovely place. But it just it feels. I mean, it feels like Well, it broaches the question of what other companies would do this, but also what other games do we think of are quite rules heavy and crunchy? Because there are lots out there that are quite rules heavy and crunchy, and some, like we've discussed previously, if you forget the rules or maybe ignore some of them, it makes life a little easier. So yeah, I think, thinking about the company side of it, it's great. I think it is really good that Paizo's come out and asked for feedback. There are many ways to do it. Twitter's one way. Wizards of the Coast did it themselves when they put out the surveys for 1D&D, and they were asking about different classes and what you liked and what you didn't like. Now, I will say I'm not very good on a survey. I get 2 pages in and I see a list of somewhat agree, totally not agree, eat a sandwich, and I see those and I think I just, it's a wall of my mind phases out and I just lose complete concentration. So I like the idea of giving short form feedback like that, but I do wonder. Could you? I'm looking at my role playing books to get inspiration for other systems.
If I can jump in,
yeah.
Firstly, on the company side, I think they've been clever here. And I think they not necessarily fishing for compliments, because Pathfinder Second Edition, I would say, is no more rules heavy than 5th edition D&D, realistically.
No.
So I think that there is this general kind of zeitgeist, I suppose, general feeling that Pathfinder. I want to play 5th edition because Pathfinder's too difficult. And that's completely false. So I think they've put this tweet out there just as a very gentle way of saying, if you've played our game, tell people that you don't find it actually complicated. I think also they are. It's kind of like a bit of a challenge. If you have any kind of interest in tabletop role playing game and you're playing 5th edition and then you see this tweet, you kind of go, well, okay, I'll have a quick look. I'll go on the internet, sort of, and you kind of have a look at Pathfinder 2, and then you go, oh, it's not that difficult anyway. So I think coming at two different angles, it means it's a win-win situation for them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't actually know what the perceived difficulty is with Pathfinder 2. I know I have problems with Pathfinder 1, but I also have problems with D&D 3.5 and 3rd edition.
Yeah. I mean,
and they're problems that were fixed in Pathfinder a little bit.
Yeah. No, I mean, the history is fundamentally there was Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. It came to an end because of the open game license. They decided to create Pathfinder, which is kind of a Dungeons and Dragons 3.75, as it were, and very much influenced by Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. And there's nothing hidden about that. That is how it developed and how it came into. And there was quite a time period. Hiya, Stuart. Thanks very much for jumping in. It's quite a time period between 3.5 and 4th edition. 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons is actually quite a good system.
I like it.
But the way that it was marketed and the way that it was perceived was perhaps not done properly. And there was a degree of OGL involved in 4th edition as well. So I'm not here to sort of talk all the politics. So Pathfinder grew and grew and grew because there wasn't really a Dungeons and Dragons to play. As you said, 3.5 had its faults. Pathfinder kind of corrected a lot of those. So therefore Pathfinder soaked up an awful lot of the 3.5 players. Now what they've done in more recent times with 2nd edition is very much what 5th edition did, is kind of simplify things, but it can be perceived as complicated because it's very modular. There are a large number of choices, special feats and abilities that your ancestry can choose, the type of class that you are. So it seems like there's too much, but of course you don't need to know all of those things.
No.
You can just go, well, I want this and I want this and I want this, and it just means that there are a huge amount of choices. I think Jason Borman, who's one of the lead designers, basically it came out with a quote on Twitter that if you add all the choices up, you can develop a character that is basically unique. No one else would be playing that character, that type of character. So I think the reason why Pathfinder 2nd edition is perceived to be overly complicated is just the extent of choice, really.
And I actually that a lot of players love that. Love that choice. I've got, so in my Saturday D&D group, I have a player who does like to min-max a little bit. And they have a character that is very, very optimized so that they can get the best action economy, the best this, best that. And they've done it really well. It's really, really impressive what they've done. And they've used all the rule books at their discretion. And I don't allow homebrew unless I've made it up. But they've used all the rule books to try and create this character with all the feats and skills and everything, so that they can do the maximum amount of damage, which is, for them, one of the things that they enjoy to do. So they like that choice and they like that complexity. Now, me as a DM, I hate it because I don't know what your character can do. And I'll be honest, I don't care what your character can do. I trust that you'll get it right. And I know the basic mechanics of the game apparently, and I know just enough that I mean, I still have to look up what actions you can do in combat regularly because
Right.
I can't remember it. I've been playing D&D 5th edition for fifth edition for years now. I cannot remember what you can do in combat. I don't have a very good memory at all. And going to a point Elsa mentioned in the chat, Shadowrun, there are so many rules. I take it as I can remember. I keep the list of the skills on my screen, and mostly what I'll be asking you to do is tell me what you want to do, and then I'll tell you the skill you need to use and the thing that goes with it, and that's about it. Combat gets boiled down to some very simple actions. Someone, I don't know who, published online a really good cheat sheet for combat, and I use that, and it really simplifies things. And I try not to bog things down because some of these rule sets are too intimidating when it comes to rules for beginners.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting thing. I discussed very much the rule set that I'm working on and how light it is, and it's come around from sort of conversations like this and thoughts like this. We spoke about that in a previous 6 o'clock club, which I think was Fridays, so you can certainly go and check that out if you're interested. Rules have developed sort of from the history of tabletop, and they kind of were written by people that liked war games and people that were quite highly educated, as in they had degrees in mathematics and everything else, and they liked the math behind the rules, as it were. And this is going back to the very sort of start of the gaming, and that followed through quite a lot. That the math seemed to have to be correct. And if you look in the old sort of rule systems, they talk about bell curves, and this is why polyhedral dice came out, and your percentage chance of doing something. First and second Dungeons and Dragons had THACO, which is the hit armor class 0.
No.
And growing up with it, you didn't question it. You just kind of you did it. You had tables. You went off with it. Now we probably live in far more enlightened times. Hiya, Michael. Thanks for joining us. And there's nothing wrong with if players and GMs like rule sets that operate like that. There's absolutely nothing wrong. I'm very much an advocate of your table is your table and everybody's having fun, and there's no right and wrongs to it, as long as everybody in that enclosed space is safe and comfortable and having a good time.
Now, one of the things I kind of wanted to touch upon, that actually there are sometimes rules that are in these games that, not rules but encouragements that actually don't get pushed enough. Kind of like not hidden rules. I'll take 5th edition for an example. So if you look at Shadowrun and you look at Vampire, you have dice pools, and you say for Shadowrun, give me a perception intuition for a perception roll, or give me body strength to lift carry something. But you can combine anything from your attributes and your skills. You can combine anything at all. But when you've got with 5th edition, and it mentions it in the DM's guide about it, you can combine your attributes with different skills. But it's just not very commonly asked for. And this is probably going off a completely different tangent. This is a problem with a lot of VTTs, in that they don't really support that either. It's very difficult to say, actually, you know what I think would be really appropriate now? I'd like you to give me an intelligence sleight of hand, or wisdom athletics. To think about, and feng shui does this really well, because it's like, if you've got a stat, if it's your martial arts stat, you both can do martial arts and about martial arts. and it boils it down really simply. But I like that fluidity of a system where effectively you can just go, I don't know, roll me strength and dexterity now, because I would like to see how, just pick random things and say, I want you to roll that and that, because I think in this moment that's really appropriate. And I do find, like, certainly with a lot of VTs and a lot of things, it does. It's actually one of the things I don't like about Fantasy Grounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess not. It might just be the way that it's set up, but I don't ever. It does a lot of the mechanics for you with the combat. Mm-hmm. It handles a lot of the combat mechanics. It tells you when you've hit. It tells you when you missed. And when I GM, I don't do open rolls. Mm-hmm. That's because normally I don't hit. So I have to. I kind of think, well, I've not hit for 3 attacks now. I probably should hit them. I'm going to say that I've hit them. Because otherwise they'll just walk over.
That's an interesting point in itself, really. If the rule set is making the variance so wide that something that should be happening isn't happening, then that rule set isn't fit for purpose. Now, if there's a big bad, and that big bad you sort of think should be hitting 75% of the time, it's important for the GM, if you're going to use that rule set of rolling a d20, to know what the armor class of the players are, and go, right, I don't care that the monster manual says that this monster has got +8 to hit, because it's going up against this group of characters, because this is supposed to be a threat hitting 75% of the time. I'm not leaving it to variance. What I'm going to do is change the plus to attack, so that when I roll my d20, if I get a 6 or above, which on a d20 I believe is 75% chance of
Don't
doing
ask
it,
me.
It's going to hit. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Now the big problem is obviously you need to take that in mind as a GM using that rule set. But if that rule set allows for that kind of variance, it's perhaps not working without heavy GM redesigning of that system.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. I mean, the challenge I've got is I have 6 players, and quite often some of them can't make it because of life and things. I don't often find out. Sometimes I don't find out till the day. And I'm not a mathematician in the slightest. In fact, I always tell my players. I mean, I've got one player that he's a warrior and he does lots of attacks, and if he hits every time, you add it up.
Yeah.
I'm not adding it up for you. I can't.
Yeah.
I struggle to add numbers together, so I don't ever bother with that. So I let them do it. So to have that level of planning ahead, to think this needs to hit so many times, it just doesn't occur to me.
Yeah,
I just don't think about that. And when and actually the rules and the things that they give you, the tools that they give you as a game master to create these encounters, they're good, provided you have a sort of standard player base of 4 players. When you've got 6 players, when you've got 7 players, it's impossible. And I will never run a game with 7 players again. 4 is a really good number of players to run for, because all the tools they give you are for 4 players. And I like. I will say though, for 5th edition, I'm sure they've done this in Pathfinder as well, because I remember in the 1st edition, the core rulebook, they had a lot of really good tools to build encounters, to put things together. And this is probably a topic for a future 6 o'clock club of building encounters and building good encounters, because that you've got some mechanic. I need help with the mechanics of it. I need someone to literally tell me, this is going to work well, this is not going to work well. And I've got an encounter calculator I use for that sort of thing. I've got one for Shadowrun as well, where I'll just throw a load of mooks in front of them and I'll plan some things, and I'll fudge their health depending on how well or badly the player should be doing. I and I'm all right because my players don't watch this.
Well, they should be, and they should be liking and subbing.
Rachel does.
Send it out to them. They'll learn all about
No,
your
I talk
gems.
about them. No, they can't. They can never know. They can never know that I
It's
never
odd.
hit anything or anyone.
It's
But actually, when you're trusting a VTT, you are trusting a computer to make a random roll for you, and computers don't make random rolls, especially because I use Roll20.
yeah.
It's using a JavaScript library, and JavaScript is terrible for numbers, absolutely terrible for numbers. So yeah, it's there are times when I don't think this is as random as it could be.
Yeah.
Because I've just had 5 ones in a row.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean that is a different topic.
Yes.
I think with the if you look at the development of 5th edition rule set, which is what we're talking about at the moment, the monster manual and the updated monster manual, the updated monster manual is based upon the old monster manual.
Yeah.
There haven't been that many changes to it.
No.
But for the players, not only are there just the core classes, but their subclasses, the magic items they have got,
Yeah.
the power of the spells, all of those have changed, but the monsters have remained the same. And the monsters need to be looked at to update them for basically the growing and evolving rule set that has come out. There's all sorts of shenanigans that can be done in 5th edition. I like 5th edition. Is it the very best system? I think the reason why they are looking at doing 1D&D is because they want to make some more money, obviously. But they could be argued that they could make money off 5th edition still by it's one of the world's biggest selling.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think that there is a power build to a certain point where it becomes not just clunky but unwieldy and then unbalanced, and
Yeah.
it's much easier to go, let's have a clean start and start again,
Yeah.
than to carry on producing books. And I think we've got to that point in 5th ed. I
Yeah.
mean, I can balance it. I don't find it impossible, as you said, for any number of players. I'll happily do open rolls. Do I cheat? No. Do I make their attack pluses substantially higher? Yes. Do I make their saving throws substantially higher? Yes. So that when they do the open rolls, the encounter is balanced. But the rolls are
Yeah.
open, and that variance and telling of the dice sort of works. It's important to do. I mean, who wants to play in a game? And I'm sure there are some people out there that do, where it's like, well, you've killed it. Yeah. Oh, you've just killed all of those. Yeah, you've killed it. Okay, next encounter, yeah, you've killed it. Okay, well done, you've killed it. Okay.
I
Yeah.
had this complaint. I actually had this complaint from one of my players saying that they just steamrolled it over
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And this was back when we were doing hand rolling dice as well.
Yeah.
So that was difficult. I mean, actually, one of the things that's always really helped me, and again, it's probably a topic for another time. The book, The Monsters Know What They're Doing.
Mm-hmm.
I've got it over there. And actually, I find I revisit some of my older books as well for inspiration.
Yeah.
4th edition's Dungeon Master Guide
has
some really, really great stuff in it for building encounters and things like that. I will say on kind of going back to the idea of rules, one of the games that I saw an actual play of on the Oxventure channel was You Awaken in a Strange Place.
Yeah.
And that's really rules light because you as players come up with your stats. That's part of character generation. Like I think each one of you is designed for sort of 4 players. Each one of you comes up with a stat, and then the GM comes up with a stat, and that becomes your stat block. And I think they get a few others in there as well. And you basically get bonuses in the one you created. And, you assign some other things. But effectively, the game comes with just your character sheet is a blank bit of paper, and you come out with the whole mechanics of the game. And I love that idea. In the actual play I watched, they had things like being able to tolerate drinking a lot of alcohol and being able to not tolerate drinking a lot of alcohol as your statistics.
Yeah.
You create the game world on the fly, and it just felt like my ideal game.
Yeah.
Because my ideal game is probably a lot of farce and arsing about like that. And not at the sake of the seriousness of like some of the topics that you might want to cover in the game, but I do like a little bit of element of fun and sort of lack of seriousness about the rules.
Yeah.
The world can be serious, the rules less so.
Well, I think I said, and first and foremost, Michael, a great point. The dice tell a story, as we hear, and they really do. Yeah. In many of our games, we've just had certain dice rolls that are game changers, and it's kind of those kind of dice rolls are the kind of sensation you get when you roll a critical hit, but plus it's like, oh my god, what, that is just amazing. And bearing into mind that I tend to run my tables with me on the side of the players, that doesn't mean the players will fail or lose, because the dice are open and they tell a story. But I celebrate their successes and mourn their losses. So I get super excited when that happens as well.
Fine.
But
I will. You've convinced me. On Saturday, when I do my next game, I will do open rolls with my players, and I'll see how that goes down.
Yeah. And celebrate it, but modify it if you want it to be challenging.
Oh, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
modify it. But I mean, think of it kind of the way we ran Feng Shui, Shui, but D&D with dice. And when you're D&D missing
dice,
when you're missing, describe why they're missing. And
I always
I'm sure you do. Yeah, I'm sure you do.
No. Combat's much more than just right. Roll the dice. Roll the dice.
I've been in your games, and
I mean, it's again. My players have come from a lot of my players have come from a wargaming background, and there has been a long, and it's never been overt, but it has at times felt like it's players versus GM, not from my side, but from that's what their expectation is, that it's players versus GM. And that's not the case at all. Like you can literally do anything in my games, and I will go with it and let you do whatever. If you want to turn it into a sandbox and go off somewhere else, you absolutely can. So shall we move on to?
Well, I've got a couple of things just finally on rules to say, if that's okay. Firstly, again, I made this point that I personally believe, and I mentioned this when I was discussing the system that I'm developing at the moment, that my idea rule set is like the perfect engine that drives the game. But like in a top high-end car, you don't want to know that engine's there. You want it there. You want it making the game move, so everybody knows where they are and how they can interact with that world setting. But if you have to keep going to that engine and going, how does this work again? How do we move forward? What we're going to do? It might not be the rule set. It might be the fact that the GM hasn't learned that rule set, or the players haven't spent time learning what their characters can do. But the less you have to do with that, the smoother I believe the game would run, and the better experience people will have. So first and foremost, that's what I believe a good rule set should be. But secondly, I believe especially if it's representative of a genre, especially if it's representative of a uh, um, franchise is the word I'm looking for. There are
Yeah.
some good rule systems out there that very much give the flavour. So, Fancy Flight Games system for Star Wars, for instance, has
Yes,
force
I've seen
dice,
that
and
one. Yeah,
they've
yeah,
got narrative dice, and it really feels like using the force, and the force is with you sometimes and against you, and the more that you kind of use the force, the more chance you have of the dark side being used against you,
yeah,
and things like that. So it's quite clever what some game designers have done to flavor a rule set to a franchise, and it's worth checking out. So yeah, so I think that is the two comments I would make on rule sets. One, you shouldn't really know it's there, and if it's
oh, I
set to
don't.
a yeah, if it's set to a franchise, if it can kind of give that feel and taste of that franchise, so much the better, really. Um, okay, well, thank you for that. The next thing we were going to talk about, I'm just going to call it up on screen here for you, is about Kobold Press. Me and Kristian will disappear. I mean, that might be a good thing, but we will be here on audio, I believe. Let us do that as I play around with this. Doesn't seem to be working. Let me click on this. I know why. There we go. So you can see Kobold Press. This is Kobold Press's website. I received a mail today about it as a reminder. We can take our names away. This should be super smooth. So Project Black Flag Friday. Hey there, Stuart. Um, just let me call this up. This is a post on their website. It's February and Project Black Flag playtesting draws ever closer. Now, for those of you unaware, when there was the Dungeons and Dragons Wizards of the Coast debacle on the OGL, a number of third-party publishers decided to develop their own game. Kobold Press, an amazing third-party publisher, um, did exactly that, and they entitled it for at the moment Project Black Flag. I've volunteered to be one of the playtesters.
Ooh,
Sent
exciting.
an email over to do this. Yeah, hopefully something will come of it. But on Friday they announced some partners. So these are people that have signed up, or rather businesses that have signed up to, you know, to feature fundamentally Project Black Flag. And as we can see here, we've got a number of things, a number of companies that we're all familiar with. So Shard Tabletop, which I think is a virtual tabletop. I'm not overly familiar with Shard, but now that it's up here, I will be checking them out. Roll20, one of the most popular ones.
I
Fantasy
love it.
Grounds, Foundry, virtual tabletop, um, and Alchemy is also a virtual tabletop. And then we've got two other individuals here, World Anvil. These are super. It's kind of a way that you can keep all of your campaign information. Um, and it's basically like a folder system for information that can be shared with your players. Very, very good resource, especially if you're doing campaigns. And then Demiplane, which again is a really interesting company. One of the ex sort of designers of D&D Beyond has set up Demiplane, and they have done it for a number of systems. I think Vampire is on there. but very much worth checking out as well. It's D&D Beyond, but not for D&D, but for other rule sets. So they announced these partners, which made me excited because these are some of the big names in the industry, and it's nice to see that I would be able to still do it on my fantasy grounds, which is my tabletop of choice, virtual tabletop of choice. And then I'm going to sort of scroll down here and read a few sort of things because we don't overly know what Project Black Flag is going to be fully at the moment. So, as announced, well, some things stay the same. As announced, Project Black Flag will be compatible with 5e, but there's more. Kobold plans to revise and sharpen familiar mechanics while offering new streamlined options for a cool tabletop game. Dice Goblins of the world rejoice, you can keep your hoard, as Project Black Flag will use the beloved time-tested set of platonic solids, D4 to D20, and also the D10, which, okay, sure, isn't a platonic solid, but everyone loves it so much, no one brings it up. So, first and foremost, that's interesting, compatible with 5th edition. And secondly, all of our lovely dice are going to be used in it. And what kind of kobolds will we be if we didn't show the love to our monsters? You can expect a Project Black Flag cool book of 400 monsters, fully illustrated. It will include some of your favourite classic fantasy monsters and all new ones to be devil your players. So again, interesting. They've for those of you who are not familiar, if you like your 5th edition stuff, I implore you to go and Google Kobold Press. They've brought out some of the very best third party bits and pieces for 5th edition. They've brought out a lot of set books for monsters, scenarios, campaigns, everything else in between. It's something that we should perhaps focus on another 6 o'clock club. But more interesting, and some things change. Now let's talk about ongoing design. The first playtest packet in February contains the rules and mechanics that focus on character creation. Talents and backgrounds. A new talent system helps players customize their characters with potent magic, martial, or technical advantages. Lineage and heritage system. Not every dwarf was raised amongst dwarves, so we split up those aspects to refine character concepts. During the character creation, choose a lineage which represents a character's biology and a heritage to represent upbringing in a particular group or society. Choose a standard match of race and heritage for a more traditional character, or mix and match to craft a unique origin. Very interesting. It sounds akin to what Pathfinder 2 fundamentally does, but that's no bad thing. We look forward to your feedback in help refining these options. We have a new playtest package each month highlighting new features and options. Do you want to get these packets and help us playtesting? Sign up to our new playtest crew now. You can go to their website and sign up here. Thank you to everyone who continues to support us as we develop Project Black Flag, raise those flags high. So I just wanted to share that with you. And what I will do is let us go to the main website. Excuse me, I am struggling. We will copy that and we will stick it into chat for you here. There we go. Excuse me while I choke.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
that all looks really, really, really interesting. I definitely
we
would
are
be
back.
interested to see what's definitely be interested to see what's going on there when it's all put together. That'd be. I'm interested to see what the system's like, see what the world, what options are like. You know, it is very vague at the moment, but
Yeah,
it'd be really great when it's all kind of so we've got a bit more information.
I've signed up to the play tests as well. So I'm looking forward to it. I love my fifth edition. I know it kind of we've talked mechanics, but we're adults here, and it rules are there to be discussed. And every system has its faults, but these faults with gems work. This is what the gems therefore can override that and build it for a larger group, or rebalance the monsters because of the power creep. Thank you very much to everybody in chat. Yeah, I've been better. um, um, but as I say, I didn't want to let you down tonight. I wanted to do a 6 o'clock club. Um, I'm very excited to see what Kobold Press are going to bring out, because it's going to link to fifth edition, which I'm very passionate about. I'm also very interested to see what this ORC, this Orc, is coming out. I think it would be very much a shame, now that Wizards of the Coast have kind of um, backed down from changing the open gaming license, to go, oh well, they've done it, let us just go back into that rut of just playing the one game. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to enjoy and run fifth edition, but it's the perfect it was the perfect jolt to get me to go, oh, let's start looking around at other
Yeah,
things as well.
it's a catalyst.
Yeah,
It's acted as a catalyst,
yeah.
which is really good.
And what can happen is, you know, everything gets bigger and stronger together. So cherry picking some ideas from other systems and bringing it into the fifth edition game might well happen to make that game even stronger. So it's good times, really, very good times, and I'm excited to see all of these new things sort of coming out. Um, so thank you very much for your very kind comments about my state of wellness. It's great seeing you
You're
all.
fine. Go
It
for a
will
run.
be. Tomorrow night, hopefully, we will have Charlie from Shiver here, talking about how he came up with the idea, what his background is, some of the things he's got coming out soon. So I'm super excited to chat to Charlie tomorrow, if I've still got my voice. Fingers crossed, because I'm very keen to talk to him. So big thank you to Kristian for joining us. Big apologies to you, Kristian, to Rachel, to Elsa, and to Andrew that the vampire game is not going on tonight.
And Rich.
And Rich, yes, I couldn't forget Rich. Um, but yeah, I'm not feeling 100%, as some of you might be able to tell. But thank you very much for tuning in, taking the time to spend close to an hour with us both. Hope you found it interesting. If it's raised any questions, jump into our Discord. And yeah, chat about it. Whether you are in chat now or watching this video on demand, let us know what you think. Let us know your opinions on everything we've discussed, basically. So for the meantime, it's going to be goodbye from me, and it's going to be
hello
from Kristian. Look after yourselves, have a great evening, and very, very hopefully, I will catch you all again, same time tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Take care for now. Bye bye.
Stay safe, everyone.